Hi guys, Ricky Pope here, and this week on the Christian Nerd Unite podcast, we're joined once again by Colossal Studios. Jason Moody, the creator of Gabriel and the Guardians, writer and showrunner David Cunningham, and production manager and former Disney animator Al Moore. And we'll get to all of that right after this.
Hey guys, this is Ashley Cox from Fangirling Over Jesus. At FOJ, we believe in hope and light in the darkness and that you are not alone. We seek to unite and celebrate the intersection of the gospel and our favorite fandoms, and we get to do this through our social media, our podcast devotional, and our cosplay and fashion. And you can find links to all of that through our website, www.fangirlingoverjesus.com, through our social media at Fangirlingoverjesus, wherever you get your podcasts, and on Etsy. See you online.
And lead me on to your kingdom come, surrendering, let your work be done. My life I give for the glory of your Son.
Real quick, I want to share my favorite scripture with you. It's James 1:5. It says, "If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you." I love the fact that God says you can ask for wisdom and he will provide it. I'm in the middle of the quarterly planning meeting for the missions organization I serve with. Please pray that God will lead us to be in step with his plan and that he will give us wisdom as we make major decisions. Because I'm in the middle of these meetings, we're not going to have a long drawn out scripture reading, and we're not going to have nerdy news today. We're going to get right into our interview with Jason, David, and Al, the creators of Gabriel and the Guardians.
Yeah, we had long. We way over created. I mean, that pilot was like 30-something minutes, and it was like, holy cow, we got to cut this down.
Angel was like, "This is good, but it's long." It was like, and so we worked on that, and then once we got it the way we liked it, we submitted it into a process that Angel calls the Guild. And so what they do is they want you to create what they call a torch, which is basically just your pitch. And when you submit that, you're submitting it into an audience base what happened? Like
they said there's like 100,000 people. They said in the guild, and
100,000 people.
Think of it. I mean, like what I saw, the way I understand it, and I think I understand it correctly, but I might not. But the way that I understand it is that it's like an app so like 100,000 people are in this app, and new pitches are being shown almost like Netflix. Like you can see like a poster of them basically, and then if you click on it, you can watch the pitch, and then you vote on it. And there's three questions they ask. They ask like from the best response to the worst response after you watch a pitch. The best response is, I would be very disappointed if this show was never made. And then and then the middle one is, I would be somewhat disappointed if the show wasn't made. And then the bad response is, I would not be disappointed if the show wasn't made, right? And so you have to get over a certain threshold on the I would be very disappointed. You have to I guess they really want people that are like, I would be very disappointed if the show wasn't made.
Yeah. So
70%,
right?
So for the very disappointed, it was like you have to get over 40%, have to respond back. Very disappointed. We had, I think that our overall positive between very disappointed and somewhat disappointed, the two positives combined was like 83%. I want to say.
Yeah.
I think something like that when we ended up finishing, which was like really encouraging for us, because we were like, in my mind, it's like Angel Studios, they're the studio of The Chosen, is The Chosen gonna like this crazy action anime series? We literally gave them a torch that had half of the runtime of the torch was a fight scene.
Yeah, fight scene between the celestial being and a giant. And I mean, you've heard us tell the story. It's a high concept series. Like it's
Yeah.
it's like, so we just weren't sure how the Angel audience would take it, but they did take it well. And we found out later that there was 5,000 submissions, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
And we were one of 9 shows that made it through, that got a passing grade. And so at that point, Angel got back with us and they said, hey, you've made it through the guild successfully. We want to announce you at our summit, where we're going to announce all our new shows. And so, after that, we signed a deal with them, and now we're in. They are our marketing and distribution partner.
Yeah.
But as I understand, they're not going to be doing any of the production for you.
Nope.
They're just going to be the marketing. So all of that is on you. The content, the quality, the look, the feel, the messaging is all going to be on you guys.
Yes,
Awesome.
and to make that more poignant, the cool thing about Angel Studios is that we do have creative freedom. We don't submit scripts to them where they give us like studio notes or anything like that. We come up with the stories, we create the stories, and we don't have any. They don't have any creative control over the show at all. Which is really cool because like if you learn about like most studio systems, your distributor tells you kind of like, oh no, we don't like this script, we want you to rewrite this script. You get a lot of notes from executives, things like that. Even if you're seemingly independent. I mean, I'm sure like many people that are listening to this know all the stories about like when people at Marvel or Disney have creative differences, and they depart the show.
Yeah. Well, and to put it in perspective, when I was working with Franklin, they basically told me straight up. They said, "Look, what's going to happen is we're gonna get you in a room with a streaming service," and they're like, "The truth is that you're gonna have to basically hand over this show. Like you're gonna get a nice payday. You're gonna get a credit, but essentially the creative will then be handled by Netflix, or whoever." And so, that just was like, that felt terrible. You know what I mean? And so Angel is really a really cool studio that really is putting a lot of all of the creative control in the creator's hands, and it really is a cool partnership. I highly suggest any creator out there to consider Angel, because I think that they have the creator's best interest in mind. I think they really do.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, do you kind of have a time frame yet? How far out do you think you are from actually launching a first episode, or is that something that's too far out to be known at this point?
Yeah, David.
Yeah. So right now, we are in pre-production. We are hoping to go into production end of the year, beginning of next year. We're still working that out. So like right now, to tell you where we're at, we are ramping up our pre-production team. We're ramping up our production team. We're getting kind of key artists, key managers, key supervisors in place. Like Al said, we're figuring out the studio situation, what studios, how like all that kind of stuff, like what we're going to need in order to hit the schedule. So we have like a production schedule. We have like a budget for getting season 1 done. And we're hoping, like right now, as long as things go the way that we think they're going to go, which sometimes they don't, but as long as they go the way we think they're going to go, we're hoping to release the show like first quarter of 2025. And so that'd be like releasing like on like a weekly basis. Like first episode comes out
Weekly basis.
by probably like we're hoping by like spring of 25. And it's one of those things where like once we get the first episode down, we'll have a much better idea of exactly when it's going to come out once we actually go through that process of completing the whole first episode. And just to let you know as well, like we're planning on 13 episodes, 22-minute episodes, so kind of standard half-hour episodes. And we are going to be on streaming with Angel, but one of the things that we are really pushing, which I'm not seeing a whole lot today, is we are really going to be pushing to get actually on live broadcast TV, not so much in the States, like in the United States here, or like North America, but really kind of like in Asia Pacific, South America, where like a lot of TV is still watched on live. Like live TV is still a very big thing. I mean, streaming is very big, obviously, but live TV is still a very big thing many places overseas. And we really want the show to basically be in the places that people love anime. And, you know, Asia Pacific is 70% of the market. So we want to be there.
Once we get all the pre-production done, I mean, it's just up to Al.
Yeah, it's true.
It's going to be
all your responsibility.
Head of production. It's like
it's all up to me.
What does that process look like? I actually don't know a lot about it. So what is once the pre-production is done, what does it look like to get it to the finish line?
Complicated. No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean, we're going to go, if you want to start from the earliest phase, once we get out of the boards and we get moving, we're going to go into layout, which is your camera moves. It's going to be taking what's going on in the boards and translating that for the artists to be able to use. And then from there, we're going to have the animators start animating. And animation is an interesting thing. You know, in 2D, because that's what we're doing, it's actually going to be hand-drawn. Now, we're not using paper anymore because, you know, you draw on the tablet and it's essentially your paper. And so, you know, but it's going to be the traditional, you know, we used to call it in the old days like the three-fingered flip, where you just flip in the paper, but it's going to be like that. They're just drawing each drawing out by hand, and then you got the effects coming in after that. And then from there, once that's all done, simultaneously, you have Jason doing color models, so that once the characters are actually painted, there's a model set up with all of their colors and the way they're supposed to be painted. Those get painted in the system simultaneously from while animation is going on and layout happens. Then from there, we're going to be doing the backgrounds, and all the backgrounds have to be created. So we have thumbnails for the backgrounds. We have time of days for the backgrounds, which is going to tell us, you know, each location, what's the time of day for that based on the script. And then we're going to do thumbnails for the artists so they get an idea of, okay, these are the colors. This is what it's going to look like. This is the setting, the feel for what we want. And then they're going to create that into the actual production backgrounds. So yeah, it's going to be complicated, but we'll get it done.
How what he's doing. He created Emperor's New Groove.
Yeah, so. my favorite.
No.
You know, someone on the comments on Facebook said, "Oh, Emperor's New Groove is my favorite too," and I responded back to that. I said, "Apparently mine as well."
I love to tease out. One of the first things he told me was like, "Oh, I got off Emperor's New Groove as fast as I could," and I was like, "What?" So I love to tease out. Anytime we're having a live conversation, I'll be like, "Oh, it's his favorite Disney movie." So now I'm moving into he created it. He's the writer.
Yeah, I'm the writer. I came up with the story. I jumped off, was on Tarzan, and was like, never look back.
Yeah, that I mean, there's a really interesting documentary about Emperor's New Groove. It's hard to find, but it's called The Sweat Box. And super interesting behind the scenes. If you watch that documentary, you will know why Al wanted to get off that project.
Yeah, it was a nightmare. It was actually called, I think it was called either Kingdom. It had two different names: Kingdom of the Sun, Kingdom in the Sun. Yeah. And it was a nightmare. The Sun, right? Like that. Kingdom of the Sun, I think is what they went with before they changed it to Emperor's New Groove. But it was such a, I mean, I hate to say this because I know a lot of people who worked on it. It was such a disaster in the beginning. And, you know, and I was like, you know, if you're ever praying at work, I was like, oh, please, Lord, get me off this thing. And then what happened was it got so far behind schedule that Tarzan needed help. And so they came to our department and they said, look, we're pulling you guys from Kingdom of the Sun, and we're going to stick you guys on Tarzan. I was like, thank God. So, yeah, Tarzan was phenomenal. It was fantastic work.
Tarzan's amazing. We do have some. So the other cool thing about this project is we have some really cool voice talent.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so do you want to share a little bit about that? I know,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, as of this release, you'll have already announced this,
Yep.
but
Yeah.
in case some of my audience didn't see your announcement,
Yeah.
so who do you have working with it?
So it was, yeah. So at this point, we will have announced at GalaxyCon Austin that our leads are Johnny Young Bosch, who he was the Black Power Ranger in the Power Rangers movie back in '95, and on the TV show, and he's the voice of Vash the Stampede from Trigun. He's the voice of Ichigo from Bleach. He played. He was Kaneda in Akira. He's an awesome guy and an awesome voice actor, and he is Gabriel. And then
Nice.
I don't know if each of you guys want to tell the other voice actors that we've got.
Yeah, we got James Arnold Taylor. He's played. Oh my gosh, why did my brain
Everybody.
blank out? He's played Johnny Test. He's played everybody. I think was it Lee? I don't want to get your turtle wrong, James. I think it was Leonardo.
Oh, he played
right?
Leonardo. Yeah,
He played
Yeah,
Leonardo. And of course, a minor role as Obi-Wan Kenobi in Clone Wars.
Yes,
Yeah.
I have been trying for a long time to get him on the show.
Oh,
So
we can try to make a connection, man.
I would
Yeah.
I would love that.
He's a very, very cool guy. Very nice. He was also Titus from. That blew me away. Of all the things, I was like, "What? You were Titus from Final Fantasy X, man? That's so cool." And then we got one more.
Yeah, we also have Matt Lanter, which he voiced Anakin Skywalker. He was in Ultimate Spider-Man, and then he's had a bunch of live action roles as well. Matt actually, I think he does more live action now than he does voice acting. If I believe that's what I heard last. But he's awesome too. So it's really cool to have James and Matt in particular playing the characters they're playing, because they got to do the whole thing in the Clone Wars together. As Obi-Wan and Anakin. And so now they're in our series, and it'll be interesting because they're the characters that the primary characters they're voicing have flipped roles a little bit. So
yeah,
Okay.
James Arnold Taylor is playing our villain, and Matt Lanter is playing our primary season 1 hero, aside from Gabriel. So
Very cool.
yeah.
So how far along are you on scripting? Have you already started scripting the series, or are we just kind of waiting to make sure everything's ready to go ahead? How does that all work?
We are full steam ahead. So we've had one writer's room where we outlined episodes 1 through 7, and then those episodes were assigned out to writers. We've got first drafts back on all of them on episodes 1 through 7, but then we also we've got a final draft of episode 1 and 2. We're almost final on 3, and then we are in the process right now of storyboarding episode 1. And so we've got a really awesome head of storyboarding, this guy named Chris, who he's boarding out episode 1, and his boards are so cool, man. It's so cool.
Christopher Parker, look him up. His boards are out there. He's phenomenal.
Yeah. It's gonna be like the stuff that he creates is just really it's awesome. Just visually, like the way that he thinks about story and about translating the script onto screen is it's really, really cool.
It's actually one of the things that we consistently got feedback from when we went over to overseas studios, like animation studios that have worked on, anime like Lupin the Third or Pokemon Sun and Moon or, Netflix shows like Castlevania and Masters of the Universe. And they're looking at our boards and they're like, these are really cool boards. Like, these are really, really awesome animatics. And they're like, who did this? We're like, oh, that's our guy,
So
Very nice.
Yeah, so we're moving full steam ahead.
David put together. I'm going to dote on you, David, because I don't think you gave yourself enough credit. I mean, you put together an awesome writers' room, an awesome team. I mean, a team of 6 writers from across the country that all came in there and just knocked it out of the park. It was amazing to sit in there and just hear these guys take this little concept and just blow it up into this amazing world and these awesome stories. And they all were, honoring our desire to weave in these, scriptural themes throughout the episodes. And so it was just this awesome orchestral moment of just watching it all kind of, David there, like this, just the conductor. I was like, man, that's amazing.
I don't know. Yeah, it was. Thank you. It was a lot of fun. That was a little bit of a dream come true for me. I've worked in some development when I was at Superbook, primarily. Worked with some people there, and it was really fun. So it was really cool to get to do that writer's room, and we're gonna do it again soon. We're gonna do episodes 8 through 13.
I'm jacked.
It's like 3 weeks or something like that. I'm so behind on getting I haven't gotten travel arrangements for those guys. We do have a place to stay, which is good. They get that set up, but I gotta get travel arrangements for those guys and everything. I'm so behind on that. But yeah, we're super excited because it's just such a cool team, and one of the cool things about this show too and one of the cool things about anime, I would say, or at least a lot of the anime that I watched, is that you get you get these shows that have really serious moments and then really funny moments. You see it in Naruto, you see it in Bleach, or even Cowboy Bebop. The humor mixed with the very serious, mixed with the drama, mixed with the awesome fights, and it's just you get this roller coaster of a ride. And that was one of the things that I was that's what we want the show to be. We want it to be like that roller coaster, And so it's been super cool, really fun working with that team, and I'm excited back in the room and go through the second half of the season, because I'm also a big believer, a really big believer in story structure and in things like the hero's journey, that kind of thing, and really crafting a story that has an amazing ending. So it was one of my my favorite writer, right? My favorite living writer, I should say. I mean, he's amazing. It's hard to say favorite of all time, but anyway, Brandon Sanderson. He's a fantasy writer. Yeah, and I don't know if you know this, but he's got this series on YouTube where he has a class that he teaches at BYU on writing fantasy fiction, and he just puts the whole class up there for free. I think I've watched it a dozen times, and it's amazing. It's a 16-week class, and the whole thing's free. And it's so cool too, because the stuff that he talks about is so applicable to any writer, really. I mean, there's sometimes he just talks about kind of magic systems or something like that. But for the most part, he's just talking about good storytelling. And one of the things that always stuck with me was how important it is to have a good ending. Because, if you have an incredible start to your story, it's well, that's really important, for sure. But it's when you finish the story, that's how you remember it. You remember the ending. You remember how that felt at the end. And it's and it's that what we want is that satisfied feeling. It's the best stories you leave, you feel satisfied. You feel that was worth it. That was something happened, something significant, and something was surprising, and something, and it built to something really cool, and something, and it's just, so we're really working towards that, to make something super cool for season 1, and really we've got an outline for the first 5 seasons, which is what we're hoping for. And that was also another one of those things where if anyone's ever watched the series Lost, I learned my lesson watching Lost that you better know where you're going, because you're going to just tick off people if you don't know where you're going.
Yeah, I mean, Lost is a great example, because I think people forget how great that pilot was. It's become this thing that people dump on. It was oh, you don't want to be like Lost. And it's well, actually, in terms of pilots, that may be one of the best pilots ever made. But you're right. People don't think about that. They think about how it ended.
Right. It just lost its way.
Exactly. Well, speaking of story structure and seasons, I have another question, and this is, I don't give away anything here, but is this going to be very episodic in the idea of you can watch this episode, it all makes sense beginning to end, or is this going to be a continuing story where you really need to watch each episode to get the big picture? And I'm thinking of, when I say that, I'm thinking of a lot of the the recent streaming shows like like the Marvel shows, a lot of the Marvel shows, a lot of the Star Wars shows, not all of them. Most of them, it's 6 or 8 episodes. You really need to watch the whole thing for it to make sense.
Yeah.
But then we have something like Mandalorian, where it's got more episodes, and a lot of the episodes you could watch this episode and it stands alone. It doesn't need the rest of the story to make sense. Where are you guys kind of on that?
More in it's all one continuous story, more so.
Okay.
Each episode does have its own thing. Each episode is like a standalone story, but they're all connected. They all build from one to the next. And so it's like, we created season 1 to very much be like a standalone story, basically. That kind of leaves the door open for for something else, basically. And that, that's why we're planning like 5 seasons, right? But season 1, season 1 is like every episode. Again, it's like more connected, I would say, than just like one-offs. Yeah.
I would say that, like, if you've seen Avatar: The Last Airbender, that's a great example of a show that will tell a plot, an episode plot, but the arc spans the season, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that we've got great plots per episode that kind of complete the plot, but the arc, there's a story arc that's going across the whole season.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead, Jason.
No, that's it. Yeah.
I was going to say, yeah. So I think some of the episodes, a little bit, are going to be like The Mandalorian, where it's a little bit like one-off, but it's still connected to the bigger whole. So yeah.
Yeah, and Avatar did that. Avatar did that great. I mean, even the one-off episodes were awesome. At some point in that episode, it would connect to the bigger story, and you'd be like, "Oh, okay, that's where things are moving in the story."
In case anyone's wondering, I will say there are no filler episodes. We're not going to do like Dragon Ball Z, where it's going to be like fighting for 3 episodes.
You're not going to follow a different character from a whole different show for 2 episodes.
Oh gosh!
The backdoor pilot to another show.
That was rough. That was rough. Man.
That's so funny.
And then I liked it when it happened in Boba Fett, because it was the only episode that I actually was like, well, I actually kind of like this episode, because I'm back to Mandalorian.
Yeah.
When they did Mandalorian, I was like,
Yeah, Mandalorian 2.5 or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Season 2.
I was going to say I think the best standalone series right now, where each episode is its own thing, has got to be Strange New Worlds. I don't know if you guys watch it, but Strange New Worlds is fantastic. It's like the original Star Trek. Each episode stands on its own.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one.
That's great.
What's his name? Anson
Mount. Anson Mount. Yeah.
His killer is Pike, right? Oh.
Yeah.
He's Captain Pike from the original series.
Kirk's mentor, right? Like,
I have to say Ethan Peck as Spock. At first, I was like, he doesn't look like Spock, but his mannerism, he's got Spock down pretty good. I actually met him before. Super nice guy.
Well, what have we not talked about? Is there some particular part of the show or something we haven't brought up so far that you think our audience ought to know about this, because that'll either get you more excited or help things make a little more sense of the future of this?
So I think one of the cool things that we are planning on doing, we've got like a first, I don't know what you call it. We're like a pilot for this. Anyway, we are going to have a manga series come out for the show. And so we've got some amazing artists. Jason, we can't share our screen on here, can we?
Well, but we can give him the images and he can put it in.
Yeah.
If you show it, if you send it to me, I can put it in. I'll do editing afterwards.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So we've got a manga that we're making. So we're making an ashcan right now, which is just like a preview
Okay, yeah, yeah,
of
yeah.
what the manga is going to be, and it's like 18 pages, and we've got one page that's actually finished, and it's awesome. It's like
Awesome.
it's so cool. I was geeking out because I was just like, oh my gosh, like this
We're
looks so
hoping
awesome.
we're hoping to try to get it in the Free Comic Book Day distribution.
Oh, yeah.
That way, because the manga is gonna release before the actual show will. So
Yeah.
we're hoping for the release of the manga series will start sometime next year, and then the anime series will actually.
Will it be the same story? Will it be a prequel kind of story? What's that look like?
It's so in traditional like manga anime style, like it's going to be following like the same story as the show basically. I mean, like there will be some differences because we're kind of like letting the manga artists interpret it, like kind of like we're going to be giving them the script, letting them interpret. So it's going to look a little different. But if you ever followed like like I still read One Punch Man, I still read Dragon Ball Super for some reason, the manga. It's like for the most part, those things follow the show. But what is that like if you read the manga, they're always way ahead of what the series is, and then the series, like a season will come out and it'll get caught up, and then like right now, sometimes they'll do a thing where it's like the manga actually catches up to the series, like Dragon Ball Super right now, they're like covering the events of the movie.
Yeah, well, in Dragon Ball Super, the Dragon Ball Super manga, like it has stuff that they're not doing in the show. So it has entire sagas that they're not going to animate at all.
Yeah. And we will start off by following like what's going on in season 1. But depending on, this is more like a business kind of thing, but depending on like how the books do, like if people are buying the books and they want more, we'll make more. So
very cool.
Yeah. The Ashcan though is a prequel. It's a setup.
Yeah.
It's
okay.
So it's a kind of a before the story.
And if you're not a big comic book fan out there, when they say an Ashcan, usually those are very thin, very small, usually not full-sized comic books. So if you're not familiar with that idea,
you got it. That's what it is. I was thinking the other thing that we should maybe just talk about is like maybe just a bit of a log line to the show. Just like I don't know that we actually talked about like what is this show about? I mean, outside of like it's inspired by it's inspired by Genesis. It's we're using some of the themes out of the Old Testament, but like we said, that the show is actually an original fantasy story. So, David, do you want to maybe just give a quick synopsis? Is that okay?
Yeah. I'm like looking for like we've got all the stuff written up, and like I closed everything down for this so that nothing would make noises. So like when we were doing this, so
well, wait, while he finds that, I can say that like the world is the idea is that at one point this world called Ara, which is actually the Hebrew word for earth. But our world, Ara, is was created as this place, and then these mortal beings were created and populated the Ara, and the center of Ara is a place called Paradem, which was a lush, essentially paradise. The rest of the world of Ara was wild and a wasteland, unterraformed, essentially. And so this is kind of the setup to the show, is that when the creator of all things created Ara and created this paradise, mortals were invited into the paradise to learn how to cultivate. And then they're invited to co-labor and take paradise out into the rest of the world. And so there's a tree in Paradem that's called the Tree Eternal, and their job was to take the seeds, the eternal seeds, and plant more eternal trees all around. And then those trees would create life and create lush paradise, expand paradise, the kingdom of paradise across the entire globe. But in their hubris and in their desire for knowledge, to take knowledge into their own hands, they lose paradise because basically they bring upon them the curse of the Dark Hata. And the Dark Hata is essentially chaos. And chaos enters into Parteon. And to salvage the tree that basically gives life to the entire planet, Ea has to remove paradise from Ara, leaving it unterraformed, a wasteland planet. But he leaves mortals with 12 seeds. And they take those seeds and plant small civilizations, and that's the world that we now exist in, is this essentially wasteland planet, but these 12 tribes essentially that have their own tree, a less powerful version of an eternal tree, but these trees are the source of life for those civilizations. And so that's sort of this fantasy, but obviously very Hebrew inspired setting.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, and I can give you the log line now. I got this pulled up.
There you go, the log line.
So it's a celestial guardian, a young cleric, and a feisty princess form an unlikely bond as they embark on a perilous quest to stop the chaos giants. Battling powerful creatures and uncovering dark secrets while facing personal trials and betrayals, our heroes race against time to stop an impending threat that could shatter their world. So that's kind of the setup. Basically, in episode 1, you get introduced to the 3 main characters, and they're all in very different places. So, and this isn't really spoiling anything because this all happens in episode 1. But basically, we meet Gabriel. He's in a paradise kind of realm. We meet Nock. He is not in a paradise kind of realm. He's in Ara, and the first time you meet him, he's actually in chains, getting dragged to prison. And then we meet Nemea, the feisty princess, who is actually trying to make a sacrifice to the gods, which she thinks the giants are the gods. She's trying to make a sacrifice to them for something mysterious that we find out later.
Yeah.
And
Very
so
cool.
they all 3 of them are coming from very different philosophies, worldviews, and literal world. Like Gabriel, obviously he's not human.
Yeah, Gabriel's not human. He's a celestial being. But I would say that one of the questions that keeps on coming up on the Facebook page and on the Instagram is like, will this show are you going to have gods and is it going to worship angels and different things? And it's like, okay, let's look. In the world, just like in Genesis, there are cultures that don't believe in the true God, right? And in our show, there are cultures that don't believe in the creator of all things. But our main characters, Nock and Gabriel, obviously Gabriel is a guardian that's under that he's a guardian of the celestial realm. He knows Ea. He knows the creator of all things. And Nock is part of a tribe that still follow the old ways of the creator. But all the other cultures in this world have forgotten their creator. And so, they worship fallen beings that are pretending to be gods, and they're worshiping all kinds of different things. And the story really is, what does it look like to go into a fallen world and take truth, take the thing that the light, for Nock, this character, to do the thing that they were originally meant to do, which is take the kingdom of paradise, the kingdom of goodness into the world. And how does that change things in a world that is fallen? Is there redemption for a fallen world? Those are the things that we want to do in this show. So
very cool.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, I am super excited about this project.
Cool.
I've been seeing it everywhere. Lots and lots of people keep asking me about it, if I know anything about it. And I really appreciate you all coming on and just spending some time with us and letting us know more about it. When we get closer to being able to release, I would love to have you guys back and just give us, a recap of how it all went, and when we're gonna get to see it for real. But
Yeah, I mean, let me say, man, like, thank you for
Yeah.
inviting us
Thank
on. I really, really appreciate it. You're our first podcast, which is very cool.
Yeah.
It's really exciting. It was really exciting for you to invite us, and we're just honestly honored that you wanted us to come on and talk about our show.
Yeah,
that's
thank you
great.
so much.
So
Yeah.
I'm not sure who this is for, but somebody tell me, how can people follow you? How can they find out more? How can they keep track of how everything's going?
GabrielandTheGuardians.com. So
Yeah.
just go to
Yeah,
GabrielandTheGuardians.com.
GabrielandTheGuardians.com.
I think that we've got an Instagram page up. We've
Yeah.
got
There's a Twitter, there's an Instagram, and there's a Facebook.
and it's all
for sure.
Gabriel and the Guardians. If you search, I think on any of those, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, if you search Gabriel and the Guardians, you should find us. Pretty easy. Honestly, I don't go on social media a whole lot, so I'm not really. but you should
I do.
find
You
us.
can find me. I'll talk to you. I literally was on a call with somebody that was commenting on one of the posts, and he was asking questions, and I was like, hey man, I'll do a Zoom call with you and talk to you about some of this stuff. And he was like, really? I was like, yeah. And I got on a Zoom call with him, and we chatted about the show. And so, I love being social. I you can talk to me if you want.
Yeah, I was going to
Awesome.
say, I think Jason and I are following up. I see his comments too on the Facebook side. I follow up when there's questions out there, especially about my love of Emperors in the Groove. It's my favorite
Yeah, dude,
question
I got to
to
get
talk
you
about.
a T-shirt.
Oh my gosh.
But go to GabrielandTheGuardians.com. That should have the most up-to-date things, and there should be links to all of our socials there, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Great. Well, and I will put links down in the show notes below for all of that, so everybody can have a quick, easy way to find it. It has been a joy having you all on. Jason, Al, David, absolutely super excited. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah.
Thanks so
Our
much for having
pleasure.
us.
Thank you.
It was great getting to know Jason, David, and Al, and I'm super excited about the Gabriel and the Guardians project. Make sure you click the links down in the show notes below to follow their progress and to support their project. Well, that's all I have for you today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, just click all those buttons down there. That way you can keep up with us anytime we put out new content. You can find all of our social links and links to our YouTube channel and our online store at ChristianNerdsUnite.com. And if you really do enjoy the show and want to help even more, consider becoming a supporter on Patreon. All of our Patreon levels have great benefits and make a huge difference in the ministry we're able to do. Supporters will also get to hear exclusive stories of believers we're serving around the world through our ministry partners. To check it out or to partner with us, go to patreon.com/ChristianNerdsUnite or ChristianNerdsUnite.com and click support in the menu. And don't forget to check out ChristianNerdHQ.com for more great podcasts. Before you go, I do want to leave you with this blessing from Ephesians 3. I pray that out of his glorious riches, he may strengthen you with power through his Spirit in your inner being, so that Christ may dwell in your hearts through faith. And I pray that you, being rooted and established in love, may have power together with all the Lord's holy people to grasp how wide and long and high and deep is the love of Christ, and to know this love that surpasses knowledge, that you may be filled to the measure of all the fullness of God. We'll see you next week. Blessings.
Hey